talk today, I called it the power of our words. And I actually want to kind of start off with, I don't want to say devil's advocate, but kind of starting off with the opposite of that. Being, recognize the power of our words isn't necessarily the words themselves. And I put kind of a different selection of words in the reading. But just let's kind of break it down, even not even get into the course yet. If I said to you, started speaking to you in Chinese, would that do anything for you? No, because what? You have no clue what Chinese is, right? I don't think anybody here speaks Chinese. I stayed away from Spanish because I think a couple of you speak Spanish. So, if I spoke Chinese, it wouldn't make sense. So the words themselves don't have the power. It's what? It's the person that hears it puts a meaning to it. And the course is, really kind of interesting. It says, that was, I think, the first reading I had on there. It says, strictly speaking, words play no part at all in healing. The motivating factor, and this is talking about prayer, but it says the motivating factor is prayer or asking. Sometimes the words and prayers aren't contradictory, sometimes they agree. It doesn't matter, God does not understand words. But then this is where the reading said, let us not forget, however, that words are but symbols of symbols. They are thus twice removed from reality. So I've had some friends, I wanted to bring this up to start, I've had some friends who magically say, oh, I never say the word, and then they fill in the blank. I know one teacher, she never says the word want. She will not say want. You can say to her, do you want a cup of tea? And she'll say, no, I do not want a cup of tea. But if you say to her, would you care to drink a cup of tea? Then she'll say, yes, I would. Because she has this fixation that the word want is bad. And I'm going to say, I don't agree with that. The word itself is not magical. It's not like you change a letter and suddenly, poof, it's going to create something. And I know there's some people who, particularly like Science of Mind, some of those are really big into you have to watch what you say. But I think it goes a step beyond that. And that's what I really want to kind of talk about today. And I would even say some of the big teachers of you have to pay attention to your words have actually changed their wording a little bit on that. Some of you may have read like Abraham Hicks. He comes through Esther Hicks. It's a channeled one. For a lot of the earlier writings of Abraham Hicks was very much just keep saying what you want. Proclaim what you want. This is what you want. Say it. Claim it. You'll get it. And then I'll say, if you read some of the readings, Esther had a very challenging time when her husband passed, because that was not what she wanted. She was bound and determined. I'm going to hold in my mind, I'm going to hold my thought, my husband's not going to make his transition. But he did. And she had to kind of face up, and she had to say to Abraham, which her teaching of Abraham, it's a collective consciousness that's coming through her, but goes by the name of Abraham, because, we like names on things. She kind of said her later teachings transition into more, it's not so much the word, it's not so much the desire, it's the energy behind it. And I think that's what the course there on that quote was saying. It's not necessarily the words, it's the heart. So where does it come from then? I'm going to take a little step back here. In the text, it's chapter 2, it says, on the other hand, many other expressions clearly illustrate the prevailing lack of awareness of thought power. It says, for example, you say, and then it went on in this reading, you'll say things like, oh, it's not a big deal. Oh, I probably put in today, oh, I'm busy. I was busy, sorry. We'll say something like that. Or somebody says to you, Les, how you doing today, Rev Les? And she goes, oh, I'm fine, I'm hanging in. Our words are so flippant. We just say stuff, and we really don't have meaning to it. And the course says, we've already read, it said, words are just symbols. Words really don't mean much. If I was speaking a foreign language, the words wouldn't mean a thing to you. And this quote continues, it says, it is hard to recognize that thought and belief come into a power surge that can literally move mountains. It appears at first glance that to believe such power about yourself is merely arrogant, but that's not the real reason why you don't believe it. Both miracles and fear come from thoughts. So I want to bring up the thought that, I'm saying to you, words themselves, it says, of course, says words are symbols of symbols. So where does the power come from? The power comes from our thoughts. The thought, it says the thought power. The thought and belief combined, you could literally move mountains. You can literally move mountains. So our thoughts are really the heart of what it is. And we said in the meditation, I said, you're not these bodies. Ultimately, what are words? Words are just you vocalizing using your body. Thought goes beyond that. So does that mean our words don't matter at all then? Can we just go around and say what we want and do what we want and, it doesn't matter what comes out of our mouth? Because they're just symbols, right? And everything's about our thought. And my answer to you is still no. And you go, well, if it doesn't matter, why does it matter? I just contradicted myself, right? I'm telling you that the meaningless matters. The words that don't mean anything matter. First thing I would say is, the Course talks a lot about it is a course in mind training. Well, how do you think in your mind? Some people do use images. A lot of us, though, use what? We use words in our mind. I'll tell you, I completely think in words. I very rarely see images. It's almost all words for me. When I communicate to you, it's what? It's in words. I had a friend of me one day, they said, the only difference between me and the crazy person walking down the street is I keep the conversations with myself inside. The crazy person, what we may deem as somebody crazy down the street, they're just having the conversation out to themselves, right? You hear them walking down the street, hey, we're doing the same thing in our minds. And so we have all these thoughts. And if the Course is a course in mind training, guess what we're having to train? We're training, I'm like, the PA is making weird noises. Okay, it's just gurgling. We'll ignore that. The thoughts that we're trying to train, we are processing through words. And most of the time when we want to train our thoughts, how do you know, oh gee, I can't think of one. I'm not thinking right about the situation. It's because you looked at your words. A lot of times, and I'm actually take this as a biblical quote from Luke, says, from the mouth speaks, that is what the heart is full of. You're not going to go up and say to someone, oh, you're the love of my life. I want to marry you. If you hate that person, probably. You may lie to them occasionally, but typically the things that come out of your mouth are evidence of what's actually in your thoughts. And there's so many hundreds of thousands of thoughts in our mind, a lot of times we don't recognize them. Somebody said to me, I said, what's the thought you pay attention to? It's the one that matters to you. But they say there is thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of thoughts going through your mind every moment. How do you know the ones that are important to you? A lot of times it's what comes out of your mouth. It's those little moments, maybe even when nobody's around, and you get upset. And I've had this happen where I would say to somebody, I'd say, I had a good day. And then as I walked away, I'd say, yeah, except for da-da-da-da-da, and so-and-so was a jerk, and I'm pissed off. And suddenly I'd stop and say, did I just say I'm pissed off? Did I just say I'm angry? I didn't even realize that. And so we can take our words as evidence of what is already in our hearts. The Course talks about, I actually was referencing to Freud. It's kind of nice in this sense. I like that there is a lot of psychology, which I think is in part because of who channeled it. But it said there's also a conscious level, this was not in the reading, which perceives or is aware of impulses from both the unconscious and the superconscious. Think about that. There is a conscious level which perceives or is aware of the unconscious and the superconscious. So how do you learn more about the unconscious and the superconscious? You pay attention to the things you're saying consciously. So this is what I'm going to pose to you. It's also a two-way street. You look at your words to see what is in your subconscious, maybe things you're not aware of. But you also use your words to impact the subconscious. So the words are evidence of the subconscious, but the words can also affect the subconscious. Now, I will say, it's one of those things, it's tricky. If you keep saying, some people will say, I am love. That's one of my favorite things I use as a mantra. I am love. And I'll tell you, when I first said that, I didn't believe it. But if you say it enough times, and you're focused on it, it's hard to focus on, I'm a jerk, I'm a failure, when you're going, I am love, I am love, I am love, I am love. Guess what? I'm love. Because the mind really consciously, it's challenged to really focus on more than one thing. I've talked about, I believe before, the Golden Key, which is by Emmett Fox. And he talks about that's how he does prayer. If he's stressed out, if he's upset, if he's angry, he thinks about characteristics or statements in the spiritual realm that he believes are true that answer the negative thought. So if he's saying, I'm broke, I'm out of money, he would think things like, God is abundant, God is giving, God is caring for me. And he says, as you focus on those things, you can't focus on the negative. You can't focus on the things that are not true. And because of that, when you start using your words in that way of making a deliberate choice, a deliberate decision of, I'm going to think on the things that are of God. I'm going to think on the things I'm being taught by the Course. I'm going to think about the purity and holiness and magnificence of my sisters and brothers. When you're thinking on those things, it's hard to think about the others. And what happens is, like I said, it's a two-way street. Your words start to sink into the subconscious, and then guess what? The subconscious starts feeding you more positive things back, so that your words become more in alignment with what you were saying. Your thoughts now are in alignment with what your words were. But it's a deliberate choice of what I'm going to do. And the Course talks about that. It says you have to consider the whole world of the unconscious or the unwatched mind. The unwatched mind is responsible for the whole content. And when they're saying unwatched mind, they're talking about the conscious mind that you're just letting go willy-nilly. It says it's responsible for the whole content of the unconscious, which lies above the miracle level. And I would say, for me, I would parallel this miracle level here with what that previous passage called the superconsciousness, which I would say is kind of the universal God consciousness that we all are part of. So your words are going to impact how you think on the conscious and subconscious level. Your words are going to be indicators of maybe things that you're not aware of on the unconscious level. And your words are important because you are interacting with other people. You are in relationship with other people. Some people say, and this has been, I've seen this argument on Facebook a lot recently. They've been on a little bit of a, they've been very focused, we'll say that. They've been very focused with their words. Being, there shouldn't be teachers, there shouldn't be ministers. And the Course says, what, we're all teachers, we're all students. But it also acknowledges that we are at different places in our conscious journey. And so in the text in chapter 21 it says, is the teacher of God then to avoid the use of words in his teaching? This comes right after the section where he says words are symbols of symbols. Words have no meaning. And he says, no indeed. There are many who must be reached through words, being as yet unable to hear in silence. Listen to that. There are many who must be reached through words, being as yet unable to hear in silence. For some of us out there, we're not to the point of being able to just go into a cave, meditate, and hear the Holy Spirit. For some of us, we still need others to communicate those truths to us. And as a teacher of God, what's a teacher of God? Am I a teacher of God? Sure. Is everyone in this room a teacher of God? Absolutely. Because what's it say a teacher of God is? It says one who's just interested in knowing the interests of my brother as his own. I'm interested in releasing separation. So as a teacher of God, go ahead, reach others with the truth who are not able to hear it in silence. But it makes a really, really important point. It continues, it says, the teacher of God accepts the words which are offered him and gives as he receives. He does not control the direction of his speaking. He listens and hears and speaks. It's kind of like listens, learns, and does. Does. He does. He does. He does. He does. He listens, he hears, he speaks. Your words aren't your own. And your words, it says, only the words of God have any meaning. The words that you use, when do they come into importance? When you are listening to the Holy Spirit, you are hearing the Holy Spirit, and you are sharing that. And why do you need to do that? It says the Holy Spirit needs my voice today, that all the world may listen to your voice and hear your word through me. I am resolved to let you speak through me, for I would use no words but yours. The Holy Spirit needs our voice. The Holy Spirit needs us to reach those who are not hearing in silence. And I said to people, some people say, I don't think there should be teachers. I don't need a teacher. God bless you. If you are one of those who can just go in and hear Spirit clearly, and you have no need of someone to speak and to hear, that's beautiful. I'm glad you're on that level of the path. But whatever level that you're at, be aware that others need you. Others need to hear you. They're your brothers. They're also part of God's plan for salvation. We don't get saved alone. We get saved all together. And when our brother is saying, I can't hear in silence, you need to be the one who speaks up and channels the words that Spirit gives to you. And it says, your words, so your words, should reflect only mercy, because that is what you have received, and that is what you should give. Your words should only reflect mercy. Some people don't, want to say what they want, and that's their choice. But for you, take it on as your own personal goal. I want to hear my words be merciful. I want my words to share that which the Holy Spirit has given me to share. And I think the Course even there's, and I won't quote exactly, but the Course talks about, if your brother asks something crazy of you, unless it's going to cause harm, just do it. And I'll say for me, I'm a person who, I'm very sensitive to language. I'm very sensitive to what I hear. And so there's times when I've said to somebody, listen, I cannot hear you because you're speaking too loudly. I can't hear you. If somebody gets very loud in their voice, I can't hear the content of what they say. It just is a trigger for me. And so we look at our brother and we say, with mercy, with love, I recognize you're my brother. I recognize you have whatever going on in your spiritual path. I'm willing to be here and share the words the Holy Spirit has given to me. And that's my goal. And that's my purpose. So use your words, use them with mercy, use them with love, and be willing to use them. Thank you.